You're good with me just going with
Yes.
it? All right. We can do that. Travis, are you checking yourself on YouTube?
Test, test.
How are you doing? We're all good to go? All right, well, it is 6 o'clock, so I'm good to go unless there's any objection from anyone up here. Get the meeting started. All right, so welcome everyone to our Wildwood Celebration Commission meeting for Wednesday, September 7th. It is 6 o'clock. First item on the agenda will be the call to order and opening remarks by co-chairs Garitano and Wilson. So defer to my co-chair here. Do you have any opening remarks?
I don't. I was absent the last two meetings, so I'm going to lean to you to bring us up to speed.
Okay, great. Well, my opening remarks are just great to see everyone here and excited because we are now just a few weeks away from Celebrate Wildwood. So I'm looking forward to tonight's meeting, and we'll get started with the next item on the agenda, which is the roll call of members.
Commissioner Wilson,
Here.
Commissioner Helfrey, Commissioner Jailing,
Here.
Commissioner Hudson,
Here.
Commissioner Coleman,
Here.
Commissioner Ferris, Commissioner Siebert,
Here.
Council Liaison Garitano,
Here.
and myself. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Kristen. All right, next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for the August 3rd meeting. If there's someone that would be willing to make a motion for approval of the minutes, I'll look for that now. All right, that's by Commissioner Hudson. Is there someone that's willing to second? Commissioner Ferris? So any questions or discussion on the minutes that we're about to approve? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose or abstain? Minutes are then approved. Thank you for that. We'll move on to the next part of our agenda, which is the public comment portion of our meeting. Is there anyone that would like to comment? All right, Joe, thank you. I appreciate you turning around and checking the room in case someone snuck in. And no one is online, so therefore we'll go ahead and close the public comment section. So we'll move on to section 5 of the agenda, which is the 2022 Celebrate Wildwood event. Several components of that portion of the agenda. So the first part is the venue layout and highlights. Director Vunich, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Garitano. Well, first and foremost, if you do not know, Stacy Chansky is our recreation specialist. We invited her down tonight as we draw close to the event itself. And between Chris and Stacy, they've carried the lion's share of the load relative to all the arrangements that we'll talk about tonight and those that we don't, and a million other things that go into an event like this. So just want you to know who you're looking at and why she's here, and we welcome her to the meeting tonight. Also, just kind of off agenda with the permission of the chair, we do have your Celebrate Wildwood shirts at your seats tonight. Hopefully we got the sizes correct. If there is a problem, please let us know. We'll do our best to substitute where we can, but wear them with pride on September 24th. Tonight, the first item that Mr. Garitano identified relates to the venue layout. And before you tonight, we have the updated and what we believe is the final layout of the brochure that'll be provided to all attendees, whether they come into the event at different locations or visit the city tent. We also, just as a point of interest, we provide these to all the vendors. We try to leave a stack at each of the locations, by their tents, under their tents, etc. So as people come through, if they didn't get one as they came in or come by the city tent, they're available. And as you can see, there's two sides to this. When folded, it makes a nice compact kind of everything you need to know about Celebrate Wildwood. It provides the directory of all the different booths. And as you can see, as time's gone on, we've reached 80 booths that are not related to food or child entertainment. So it's a good big number for us. When you add in the food booths, we're up to 100. And then when you add into the children's entertainment, we're at 106 in total. So if you're wondering how's that compared to last year, it's almost identical. So it's going to be as big as last year's event, which was very, very successful on a lot of levels. Mayor Bolin was kind enough to update his message, so that reflects the 2022 event. And we did take the liberty to do a little bit of a shout out to our Wildwood Celebration Commission and acknowledge your role in all of this. And so we do appreciate it. The last item of interest on that particular side of the page is just the event schedule, both with a little graphic and then just by a chronology of times. On the other side, we have the venue layout. And as I say, we just got great support from Stacy Minkoff, who is our graphic designer. He actually turned around all of our edits in less than a week's time. And so since this is being recorded and it'll be on YouTube, I just wanted to say thank you to her. So as you can see, we have the sponsors that ring the overall venue layout map. And in total, with in-kind included, we ended up at about $15,000. So a good year, a little better than last year. Well, one year we exceeded $20,000 to do a system that we certainly appreciate it. That allows us to do a few extra things that maybe we normally couldn't. So thank you. The layout should look familiar to many of you that have been on the commission for any period of time. And again, we're in the field primarily east of the theater and on a portion of Main Street. With the assistance of the St. Louis County Police Department, Wildwood Precinct, we will have security both where the component of Main Street is closed on both ends. And then obviously they'll be on the grounds as well throughout the event, ensuring that it is safe. Everybody has a good time. The Main Street venue has all of the authors, vendors, crafters, artists, etc. The food court is kind of two sides of the dining tent. And as you'll recall, we'll have tables and chairs inside the dining tent, shaded, and then we'll have some outside as well for those that would want to sit in the sun or just be outside, not under a tent. The stage will be at its previous location. If you didn't notice when you drove by tonight, the sales trailer for Prime Place is gone. So we'll be kind of tidying up that portion of the site if it isn't done by September 24th date. And we'll be able to kind of use that for some of the band parking, as well as the ready room for Brittany, who is our headliner at the concert on Saturday evening. All in all, it's a pretty standard layout. It's by the commission today. And with that, I'll say Stacy, Chris, and I are available for any questions or comments, along with the police, if you have any specifics about any of the items that they've participated in up to this point. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you for the shirts, our true blue color shirts here. These are awesome here. So thank you so much. And we'll be looking forward to wearing them. And I'll open it up to see if there are any questions or comments from anyone up here regarding what Joe just went through.
So there's one item that's not mentioned on the venue layout. And we will have parking passes for all of you. It may be a bit of a walk, a block walk, but we're going to hold the parking lot behind City Hall for council members, commission members, etc. So we'll have something for you that will get you in there, and you place it in your dashboard so that as the police do patrols, we can make sure that the people that belong there are there. And so that'll be your parking area. Obviously, if you want to park elsewhere in the general vicinity, please feel free to. Obviously, there's no meters. The parking garage is available all day, but we just thought it'd be nice if you had a guaranteed location for your car.
Thanks, Joe. Commissioner and Co-Chair Wilson.
Thanks, Joe, for providing that parking area. Just looking at the map, there's barricades, and will there be an option for the council members and to get into that parking area?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Primarily, it'll be city team members that are working the event, city council members, the commission members, probably some dignitaries. We have invited our state senators, our state representatives, our county councilman, Mark Harder, I think a couple of others. And so whoever shows up, that we want to make it easy for them to get to where they're going. And then when they want to leave, they can leave with ease as well.
All right, Joe, this is great. I mean, it's an impressive list of vendors, food vendors, entertainment. I mean, 106. So I would encourage everyone that's up here that at some point during Celebrate Wildwood, if you can go and thank these vendors as you make your rounds, I think that'll go a long way in them understanding how much we appreciate their participation in this. And this is a fine talking point for us to share as we lead up to the event, just to share how many vendors they're going to be at this day here. So it's awesome.
And it really turned out nice. We're very happy with the mix as well. So thank you for your efforts in this regard.
And lots of food options too, which is great because I feel like we've always run out at some point. And I think last year was better than the previous one. The 2 events back is where we ran out of food very early on, I remember. So
And
this
we've
will be
tried
good.
to advise, pardon me, Mr. Garatano, but we've tried to advise the food vendors that we had about 6,000 people last year. If the weather cooperates, we're expecting even a larger crowd. Based upon, as you know, Mr. Garatano, just the success we've had with the summer concert series. Every summer concert we had this year set a new record in terms of attendance, with the back to school party actually almost being too large for the area we had. I mean, we were standing on top of each other for a while.
Great. Anything else? Any other questions or anyone else up here or officers, if you have anything that you want to add in? Officer,
Joe's covered everything.
He's covered it all. You're good. You're going to be ready for this, right?
100%.
All right, good. Well, then we'll go on to the next part of the agenda, which is the parade, Joe.
Well, again, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and members of the commission, as you know, we held a special meeting last week to discuss the Grand Marshal. And to all of you that responded to the email and participated or did not participate, we do appreciate your efforts in this regard. As you know, a decision was made to select Virgil and James Schmidt, longtime residents of the Grover area. Unfortunately, Virgil Schmidt passed unexpectedly, and his brother Jim was more doing it for Virgil than him, and he declined after Virgil's death, which meant, for the most part, we just had the 2 potential wrestlers that won state championships when attending Lafayette High School last year. One is out of town, and the other had to coordinate with her coach, and we really never got much feedback after that. So at this special meeting, a decision was made to continue forward and honor Mr. Schmidt. And it was a consensus. We didn't have a quorum, but everybody associated with the discussion felt very comfortable with it. In the memorandum the department has prepared, we basically identify Mr. Schmidt, and then as we discussed it at that special meeting, there were several suggestions regarding how this might be accomplished to acknowledge Mr. Schmidt and have others know Mr. Schmidt's role here before Wildwood and then as part of Wildwood. And so we were going to have that acknowledgement in the West News magazine. We were able to make the deadline. And so there will be a description of Mr. Schmidt as part of a pull-out section in the West News magazine. Also, there was a suggestion to have set aside for Mr. Schmidt some acknowledgement as part of the parade. And then also having Mr. Schmidt acknowledged at the opening ceremonies that are generally led by the mayor and certain city council members. And then having Mr. Schmidt added to the program that's provided to all attendees. The program before you tonight does not have that. And so that's part of the discussion. If that's acceptable to you, we can make probably one more modification, hopefully. And we can do that under the context of the parade. Oh, it's there. I apologize. I did do it. And Chris remembered it. God. Yep. So, yeah, if you look on the back sheet or the sheet that doesn't have the venue layout, we had the parade and it just says in honor of Virgil Smith, Grand Marshal. So in that regard, if there's any other suggestions, or if you think any of the suggestions that were offered at the special meeting can be embellished upon, please, this is the opportunity that Stacy, Chris, and I would like to hear those, and we'll do our best to implement. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. When is the West News Magazine issue going to be published that has this pullout section?
It's here.
Oh, is it? I haven't seen it yet. It just arrived today? Oh, wonderful. I'm looking forward to going through that here. So that's great. All right, so that answered that question there. Anyone else have anything with regards to this topic?
So the question I had relates to number 2, the acknowledgement of Mr.
That's a very good question, Mr. Siebert. Depending on the number of dignitaries that participate in the parade, if we have less than we anticipated, we may have a golf cart, and we would do something as part of that. Either have his name or some kind of acknowledgement associated with it. I mean, I believe Ms. Delling said we could do maybe some black bunting, a photograph. Mr. Garitano had a really nice photograph of Mr. Schmidt, I think at one of our meetings, had a nice smile on his face. So I assumed he was at another meeting than Wildwood. Kidding.
I'm sorry, Joe. What was that last
No.
part?
So, but yeah, that's what we're thinking. If we use all the golf carts, we may have to figure something out other than that. I think that is up to the commission.
I think the invitation should be made if they wish to be in the golf cart, or if not, at least when we arrive at the stage area for that opening ceremony. Most definitely, that would be a place where we want to have them there. But I think it's certainly an option. We can invite them if they wish to ride. Do you think anyone else have any thoughts? Seems like everyone is in agreement.
I agree with that.
All right, Joe. So yeah, if you want to, check and see, that would be great.
We'll be glad to do that. We'll contact Mr. Schmidt's daughter and see if she'd like to participate both in the parade and at the opening ceremonies. And certainly we'll ask Mr. Schmidt, Jim, if he'd like to ride in the cart with us. I guess it was niece.
I was just looking through the newspaper here. Is that all in here, that section about him being the Grand Marshal?
Well, when I talked to the reporter, she said that she would have something in there, and when I directed her to Schneider's website, the mortuary, and she was able to use some of the information from the obituary, like she said she would. So,
All right.
obviously, it'd be a disappointment if she was not able to do it.
Yeah, maybe it's.
We'll certainly contact the West News Magazine and see.
Okay. All right, anything else that, yeah. All right, Joe, you want to go to the next part, the volunteer opportunities?
Well, before we
Or did,
jump to that agenda item, Mr. Chair, just a couple of things. We're over 40 participants in the parade. 40. So we have 43 participants plus the golf carts for the city council members. So we'll have over 50, let's say, entities participating. And that's a good number. And certainly I'm glad we're at Schnucks Wildwood Crossing and not the community church, because we might end up lining up and be at the end when we finish lining up. So this works out pretty well. We county police were unable to obtain the drum and fife corps. Today we spent much of the day. I shouldn't say we. I'm taking credit for nothing. Chris and Stacy spent much of the day talking to Contemporary Productions, and we were able to obtain 2 bagpipers and a drummer, and they will be there along with another musician act that we've already had as part of the parade. We had asked them prior to knowing whether the drum and pipe corps could be there. So we will have bagpipe. And as I say, you all will have a cart. We'll put you 2 and 2. So there'll be 4 carts for the 8 citizen members. You can decorate them. They'll be delivered sometime on Friday. We'll send out a text or some type of email letting you know. How you pair up is up to you. But certainly they'll be part of the parade front and center. Mr. Bear, that's all I have on the parade.
all right, anything else that anyone would like to ask about?
Do you have something about the judge selection for the parade?
Yes, and this kind of all fell together today. So we have 10 of the participants that want to be judged. And the way we've done it in the past, we've had 3 judges basically participate, and then they do their analysis of the competing float. And then they basically do the scoring and then the announcements made at the event. We give them a gift certificate, I think last year, to Bread Company of different varying amounts. So from that perspective, who would you like to have judge the float? And I have even a tougher question after that. Who would like to judge the city council members' cards?
Well, I have actually been a judge, I think, the last 3 or 4 years. So I am happy to pass the baton to anyone else who would like to do it. Or I'm happy to do it again. So however you'd like to proceed.
The city council? Or you mean the, oh, the floats?
Pardon, ma'am, if you could use your microphone, it'd be a good big help.
Was that the committee that, was there a committee that voted on the parade last year? That how you
There were
did that?
judges, but not necessarily a committee.
Okay,
Pardon.
I was the only judge last year, but in the past, there has been 3 to 4 judges, I believe. And everyone filled out their cards. We tallied the results at the end and then announced it at the the ceremony.
Sharon,
opening
how about
ceremony.
you and Libby be the judges?
He's got a golf cart already.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be,
Big-
I don't know if you all can necessarily judge the floats because you're part of the parade.
Yeah.
So,
I guess, yeah, you have to be a spectator watching it to,
yeah,
anyone?
Are there any other volunteer groups that have already committed to?
well, the Rotary is helping with the staging of the parade at its start. And so there'll be several Rotary members volunteering at the parade. We could certainly ask them.
You could ask some of the sponsors, B&B Theater. And Mike Garrett.
You know,
Michael
maybe we ask former Mayor Ed Marshall if he wants to be a judge.
He'd be a good judge.
Yeah,
I have one. Any other thoughts?
all right, well, we can figure that out and see
Okay.
if anyone has any thoughts, but maybe we can check and see if Ed would be interested.
We sure will. It's a great idea. So if we end up with 3 judges, independent judges, would it be acceptable to have them judge the city council card?
I didn't know that city council cards got judged. I
Well,
thought,
we're doing something a little different because it appears the stakes are higher and the ante's been made, so.
yeah, but yeah, it gets political then.
That's
And
why
I don't want to put you in that position.
I'm not. I'll be back at the Schnucks picking up signs by that time. Certainly, we don't have to judge the city council member cards. It was just thought, because some are obviously spending a lot of time thinking about decorations, and we thought it'd be kind of fun.
Well, I think it's really for bragging rights, Joe. I mean, there's no,
That's true.
that's all it is. So I think you just let them kind of figure it out amongst themselves, who is the better one.
Sounds good. So we'll see if we can find 2 other individuals beside Mr. Marshall to be our judges, and we'll get them squared away at a good location along the parade route to do their job. Once we have the other 2 judges and Mr. Marshall confirms, we'll let you know.
So I have a question, Joe. So first 3 mayors we had in this town were Ron Marquardt, Ed Marshall.
Tim Werther, and then there was David Glauser, who was the appointment.
John Wild.
John Wild.
And who was the third?
Ed Marshall, Tim Werther was, and then Mayor Bowen.
So who were the first 3?
David Glauser was the appointed mayor at the time of the incorporation,
Right.
followed by Ron Marcantano, and followed by John Wild.
Ed Marshall after that.
Yes, sir.
Well, why don't we solicit those 4 individuals? And see if any of those might happen to all mayor staff.
It's the call of the commission.
Oh, yeah, and I think one of because we had recently a ceremony in the back of the city hall building for tree planting for those first 3 mayors. I know one of them, I think, is out of state, if I recall.
So 3 of the 4 are still local.
Yeah.
Ron Marcantano's here.
Yeah, he's still around. Well, maybe we can check and see according to what Charlie said and see if anyone's interested. Of those first 4.
Gone, but not forgotten.
We'll see what we can come up with for you.
All right. You want to go on, Joe?
Yes, sir. The next item, Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, relates to volunteer opportunities at the event for commission members if you should choose to participate. Certainly don't feel like your arm is being twisted. You've spent at least 10, if not 11 nights working on this, and the other time you provided outside of our regularly scheduled monthly meetings. But if you are interested, there are a number of shifts. Primarily, the commission members either work in the city tent along with city team members. They deliver water to the vendors because if they're a single person, so to speak, they can't leave their tent or venue because obviously no one would be there. And then also we do some tent sitting when they do want to take a break, grab a bite to eat or something to drink. We can sit in the tent and make sure it's taken care of. Also, Siebert, our former chair, was very good at just walking around and talking to people and kind of spreading the word about Wildwood and the commission and all it does to make this event successful. So there's obviously a number of jobs. The shifts are 2 hours. And so if you are interested, please let us know. I didn't add any names. Certainly, I don't expect you all to fill this out tonight, but again, we're thinking at least maybe 1 or 2 at each of the timeframes. And so please, at your discretion, if you'd like to participate, that's great. If not, you've done the lion's share of the work to get us here today.
Oh, put it on. So when do you need to know by? When do you need to know by what shift will? Or do we call you or just call?
For the most part, if you wouldn't mind, maybe just getting, if the event's on the 24th, if you let us know maybe by the 21st or 22nd. That way we can slot you in and make sure everything works.
When do the shifts start? Like, will they start at 11? I was just kind of curious about that. So
Here they are on the. right there.
Yeah. What we ended up doing, Miss Jelling, was kind of when the parade lasts about an hour. And so we started the first shift at 11 a.m. And then pardon me, we did 2-hour shifts. Obviously, the one from 7 to 9 p.m., the graveyard shift, as they used to say, you'll be there with us after a long day. So, but that's probably the least appealing one, in my opinion. But again, you've done a lot of work. There's no expectation, but certainly if you are interested, you're more than welcome. We have cold drinks at the tent. Volunteers do get a meal ticket. You just never know who might come by.
Cover the next part then?
Certainly, and thank you again. Co-chairs and members of the commission, obviously our update is the last of this particular year. And as you can see, everything is either complete, nearing completion, or in the case of volunteers, underway. We'll be accepting volunteers primarily up to the day of the event, if there is an interested party. There's not a lot of new information here. Obviously, with the venue map now, you can have a better idea of all the different vendors and participants. But I do want to emphasize that we have made one decision outside the commission's boundaries, because again, it was a decision that needed to be made before tonight's meeting. But we have added a couple of additional bounce houses. Given the inability to kind of coordinate the Boy Scouts this year, we thought it'd be appropriate to have a little bit more in terms of the bounce houses to keep the kids entertained. And certainly, I think they have a new one that they're going to bring out and try here. We'll probably have, hopefully, no injuries associated with the new one, but it's something new. So it's the first time out. So we're pretty excited about it all. So first and foremost, we are kind of expanding that component of the children's area. The police have been successful in obtaining the following. The police have commitments from the tactical. Okay. And so they'll be there for a portion of the day. And we kind of just generally place them in an area of the venue, the grass area, wherever it's easiest to get them in and out in the event of a need to get them to another place in a hurry. But all in all, as has been in the past years under your guidance, everything's ready. Any questions?
I have a question now. What time would you like us to arrive for the parade? How much earlier? Is there a certain time?
Since you'll have a cart, we asked you to be here at City Hall around 9 o'clock.
Oh, you want us to meet here
Yeah,
at
because you'll
9,
drive the cart down to the event grounds themselves.
but the parade actually starts at Schnucks.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Okay, here at 9.
Yep. It's a fun ride. I think the police lead you. And if you're nice to them, they'll put the siren. No, I'm kidding.
That's easy.
All right. Any other questions for Joe?
Just one point, if, and I hope this is not the case, that information about Mr. Schmidt didn't get in the West News magazine was not because the city didn't try. We had a conversation with the individual that prepared the pullout section. I spoke of the situation with Mr. Schmidt. We went through kind of the obituary real quickly. So I left that with the assumption, or at least what I thought was, we'd have something in there. I don't know if it is or isn't, but certainly we'll do our best to address it if it's not.
Yeah, maybe they can do a story of the parade after and include something.
That's a
in
nice
there.
idea.
All right. That it, Joe?
Sir, that is it. I guess from Stacy and Chris and I's perspective, it's been a good year working with you all. We appreciated your input, your attendance. And I'm sure the event will be successful. As I used to say to Ms. Siebert when she was the chair, pray for a nice day. Sunny skies, about 75, and
That was
we'll be
beautiful last year.
all set to go. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joe. So we'll have a meeting afterwards on October 5th. That'll be a good meeting to recap what how we felt it went, lessons learned from it. And maybe we'll even take a break for a month or so after that, before we start getting into next year's event. So maybe we can break in November and December or something like that.
Yeah, so just kind of know the schedule. October, we'll get back together, kind of do debrief and talk about what worked, what didn't, so we can add that or subtract it. November is kind of a critical meeting because we do the budget. And under the ordinance that created the commission, that budget has to be prepared and adopted by you all for the upcoming year, which would be 2023. Then typically we take December off, the holiday season, and then kind of jump back into it in January, and we all say, wow, the event's 10 months away. And then all of a sudden it's here. So thank you.
All right, thanks, Joe. All right, so we've covered it all, so we could entertain a motion for adjournment if someone would be willing to make it. All right, Commissioner Coleman, second on the motion to adjourn. Siebert, second. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.